Welcome to the Healthy Home Show. I'm your host, Fernanda Furman, Healthy Home Architect.
Hi, I'm Eric Furman, Healthy Home Contractor.
And today we're here with Steve Sunshine. Steve has been developing a system for a shower head that we're very curious about, and we would love to have you guys finding more information on the shower head as we talk to him and we ask questions. So welcome to the show, Steve.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. You know, in an effort to leave no stone unturned in this show, this was a real eye-opener for us. Like, oh my goodness, can't leave this out. So really excited to have you here. Would you like to tell us how you basically got into this and your story, like how you came up with this fantastic product?
Yeah, how did a car guy end up in the plumbing industry?
That's a really good question. And I sometimes still ask myself that same question. But I didn't wake up one day with a dying desire to be in the plumbing business. I'm a guy that works on expensive vintage race cars. And I basically fix things that most people have no idea are broken. So we're going to fast forward to about 8 years ago. My mom got sick, and she had a previous cancer. She had a compromised immune system, and she was 82 years old. Well, the symptoms she was having were very hard to determine as to where they were coming from. They thought she might have lung cancer. They thought she might have some kind of allergic reaction to something, might have been her food. We don't know. So there were all kinds of different potential diagnoses until one doctor said to me, do me a favor. I'd like you to remove her shower head. I want you to put a Q-tip in the back of that shower head, and I want you to send it to me. So I was baffled, and I said, okay, I give up. Why? And he said, well, shower heads contain and can harbor a dangerous bacteria called NTM. I said, okay, what's that? He said, non-tuberculous mycobacterium. And I was kind of astounded because I've never heard of it before. So I went home and I started to do some research, and I found out that this bacteria comes from the water. But if you have an enclosed shower head that's porous on the inside because it's made out of cheap materials, it has the ability to culminate and grow. And what happens is, instead of getting just a little bit from what's in your water system, you're now getting a blast of it because it's grown inside that shower head. And what happens is you breathe it in from the steam. We all know how great it is to take a steamy shower. Well, if you have a compromised immune system, it may not be such a great idea. I also found out that there are 49 other bacteria, including mold and typical ones that you've heard of, that grow inside shower heads. So I was very upset because my mom's shower head did test positive for the NTM bacteria. So I took it down and I bought her a shower head in Home Depot. And I was working in my shop over the next couple of weeks, and I was very perplexed because I looked at my own shower heads, and they didn't look great either. But I didn't have a compromised immune system, so I figured, well, what's the downside? But the research I started to do was kind of frightening, because I found that in 1981, they isolated the Legionella bacteria inside a hospital shower head in Chicago. Now, this was published in the Annals of Internal Medicine, and that's a publication that you and I don't read, but I found it. Well, between 1981 and today, what has any manufacturer done to changing the design of the shower head? Nothing. They also found that they tried to ameliorate the Legionella bacteria in that hospital shower head with a substance called ethylene oxide. If you Google it, you'll see poison and death and poison and death. Now they put that shower head back up, and the Legionella bacteria repopulated inside that shower head. So right there and then, we knew that the shower head cannot be cleaned by any traditional method. If you Google how to clean a shower head on the internet, you will find all kinds of old wives' tales and grandma's tales with dunking it in vinegar, dunking it in bleach. Yes, bleach kills a lot of things, but it's also toxic and it's also a poison. So when a consumer magazine tells you to dunk your shower head in undiluted bleach, well, if it splashes in your eyes as a consumer, that's not a good thing. And then if you put the shower head back up and you breathe in some of the vapors from it, that's not a good thing either. So as I was saying, I was working in my shop one night on a vintage race car from the 1950s. And I was so upset about this shower head thing, I went crazy. And I said, there's got to be an answer. And as a mechanic and a fabricator, I have to show you this. This is a gas cap. And this gas cap came off a 427 Shelby Cobra, a race car that I was working on in my shop. And I thought to myself, I went, wait, if this opens and it closes with a latch, isn't that the answer? And I had this epiphany and this lightning bolt go off, and I said, I've got to make this into a shower head somehow. So this is made out of aluminum. And as we know, aluminum can leach into the water and could be a known cause of Alzheimer's disease. So I'm not going to make it out of aluminum. But nonetheless, I use this as a prototype to make a shower head open and close. So I thought it was the simplest answer. You know, sometimes the answer is clear as the nose on your face and mine. And I looked and I said, this is the answer. So what I did was very simple, yet very complicated. Because you see, this only had to prevent from gasoline splashing up against it. It didn't have to hold 100 PSI of water coming in from a water source as a shower head. So it was not so easy to find something that you could open easily, the consumer can open easily, close easily, and seal around the edges without leaking. Well, when I took this to a fabricator, it took us 3 months to get just this gas cap not to leak from the shower. Now we had to design a shower head that didn't look like a gas cap, because the last thing you want to see hanging from your shower is a gas cap. So we invented Shower Clear. And Shower Clear is the first and only consumer-oriented shower head that can be easily opened. Well, that wasn't so easy. But it has to be tight. And it has to be closed by the consumer, and it has to seal around the edges. And that's what this does. So it gives you the ability to open up your shower head after each and every shower and know that there's absolutely nothing in the inside. It can't hide.
I feel like clapping. Like seriously, I mean,
Yeah.
the necessity is the mother of invention, right? And seriously, congratulations and thank you for making that. It's so many things I want to talk to you about right now. My goodness.
Yeah. So two things that you talked about that's very important. One of them is science-based. So it's not like you just came up with this idea and you're trying to sell to the consumer. There is a science behind that. And as a matter of fact, when I talked to you, one of the things I did afterwards was research and to see if there was any scientific base on what you were saying. And I found a lot of studies, and it's not easy to find, as you're saying, and we have been finding this in many other, products that we have been using throughout the house. It's not something that's just available. Hey, here's a website with all the scientific based, information on all the products you use in the house. So thank you for, doing the work and finding all that information and coming up with a product like that. Another thing that you talked about, it's one of the things I see a lot. People think that vinegar is the solution for everything in the house. And we do use vinegar in our house. Don't take me wrong. We do use vinegar. but vinegar will not kill some of, those bacteria. And there's much more than that. And I've seen people saying, yeah, just dump your shower, just get a plastic bag, Ziploc with, vinegar and baking soda and put there to clean your shower. Well, as you just explained, this is not enough to kill all the bacteria and all the growth inside. So thank you so much for, talking about that.
So how do you clean it, or do you just leave it open, kind of like the front-loading washer machines? What are the recommended maintenance and upkeep on that?
Well, just, because I know it has the ability to grow bacteria, I open mine every day. And I suggest people do open it every day, because now you have the ability. See, as a car guy, there's two kinds of cars you can drive. You could drive one with an automatic transmission that has two pedals, a gas pedal and a brake pedal, or you could drive one with a stick shift that has three pedals, a gas, a brake, and a clutch. This gives you one more thing to do. This is the stick shift of showerheads, if you had to coin it, I guess.
Yeah, but with the simplicity of an automatic, I mean, that looks like a no-brainer. I mean, that's really easy to adopt that habit. I'm just wondering, do you leave yours open during the day when you're not using it?
Yes. I only close it right before I shower again.
Okay. Got it. Makes sense. Yeah, that's what...
So with this shower head that you can see, it's pretty dirty. And what happens is we just assume that you can clean the inside by dunking this in bleach or vinegar, putting a plastic bag over it. But in reality, let's face it, if you can't see in the inside, how do you know that it's going to be clean? And the answer is you don't. So shower clear can be very complicated, or it could be very simple. And I like simple things because, in my opinion, and with all the research that I've done, is if you have this, where it opens and you can see inside, and you have this where you can't see inside, how do you know you're cleaning this? You don't.
You don't.
So the answer is simple. Which would you rather have? What would you rather? Would you rather know or not know? Would you rather guess and say, I think I'm cleaning it, I hope I'm cleaning it? So let's say you did clean it. And let's say you did flush out a traditional shower head. When does it become dirty again? When does it become toxic again? The answer is you don't know. You can't pick the day, because shower heads don't come with an expiration date, and they don't come with a little gauge attached to them saying, I'm filled up, throw me away. So if you don't know, why not have something where you do know? And that's as simple as shower clear really is. You get to see the inside for the very first time. The traditional shower head that we all shower with, the design has remained unchanged for over 150 years.
Yeah.
And they use plastic, which is another thing too. And what material are you using now?
Well, currently we are using 100% brass. This unit is 5 inches and it weighs 3.5 pounds. It's really heavy. And the reason we did that was not because we wanted to boast and say it's made out of 3.5 pounds of brass, is that we found that we really set out to make it out of a military plastic. And what happened was, when you put plastic into a mold and it's hot and it comes out, well, when it cools down, the surfaces are not flat. They'll get a little wavy, and it will cause the shower head to leak. So the problem with trying to make this in a cheaper, less expensive version, which we're working on, we just haven't perfected yet. But once we do, we'll get out there further. But the bottom line is, really, we had to have something that would work, that would seal and not leak out the sides. So that's the only reason we're made out of solid brass. So it's 3.5 pounds of solid brass. It will last virtually forever.
Yeah, that was my other question, is how long will it last? It obviously very durable. And I just, like, for the listeners, I started my journey into cleaner water, gosh, almost 10 years ago now. And my mentor, who's been in water treatment industry for 50 years, told me about this issue, I would say maybe 4 or 5 years ago. And it was always in the back of my head. There was never a solution for it. So this is genius. Yeah, I completely agree with you 100%. This is a fantastic solution. There's all these things, like as we move forward in technology, like I mentioned, the front loading washing machine, that if anybody has one, they know you've got to leave that door open. Otherwise things start growing in the ring. I've known about this, and this is fantastic.
And from the design point of view, that shower is beautiful.
Yes,
the shower head is beautiful. And I know you have different finishes as well.
Yes.
So, for the listeners out there, you can get different finishes. For the interior designers and architects that are listening to this, you can match the decor inside of the bathroom with the different finishes that you came up with, right?
Yes, we make it in a brass color like you see here. We also make it in chrome, brushed nickel, oil rubbed bronze, and we have a rose gold finish as well.
Okay.
So anything that your bathroom has, chances are we'll be able to match or come
Nice.
close.
Another question I had is about traveling. So we have been we have been traveling different than we used to travel before, right? We bring our water filtration system with us. Eric developed this portable one, and then we have our air filters. We bring our sheets and our pillowcases. But I see this as a solution as well. Have you traveled with yours? Is that is that difficult to change the shower head? Would the hotels work with you?
Yes, the answer is yes. I do travel with it. It's really not that easy to travel with 3.5 pounds of a metal inside your carry-on luggage. I get stopped at every gate, and they always ask me, they go, "What is it?" before I open it up, and I say it's a shower head. And they look at it and they go, "Why are you traveling with this?" And I show them, I said, "Because of this." And they go, "Wow, that's amazing." So they get it. But the people at the hotels are very compliant. When I tell them, I said, "Look, I'm not going to shower with your shower head that looks like this. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to get under this. I mean, if I do it in my home, I have to do it everywhere I go, or I'm defeating the purpose." So yes, I do bring it with me.
Okay, that's perfect, because there are a lot of listeners out there that have chemical sensitivities, that are going through some medical issues, and having those kind of solutions are amazing. So thank you so much. And how do you see people being more open? Have you talked to a lot of commercial buildings like hotels or other places where, so they can be aware? Are they open to listen to you and to make changes?
Yes, we're in the process of getting into several hotels and chains. The biggest problem is production, because I can only make a certain amount of these per month currently. So we are trying to get into mass production through, let's say, a material that can be mass produced, like a high impact plastic. Once we do that, we'll be able to get out to every hotel. And that's our goal. Our goal is to really alert, inform, and upset the marketplace, because you see, they've been selling this for a really long time, and they don't tell you that it's bad. Recently, the University of Colorado did a study on shower heads, and they used 500 or 653 shower heads, as I recall, to be exact, across the country. And the study was over a year or a year and a half. And that study was looked upon as the most peer-reviewed study on shower heads ever. And what they found was that the NTM bacteria that we talked about in the beginning grew in the majority of those shower heads. And out of those 653 that were used in that study, that you can read online, ShowerClear is the only manufacturer named in that study. And because they don't go out to sell shower heads from a study, that's all they can do is mention the name. They're not in the business of endorsing any product. This was a medical study. But being the only one named out of 653, you have to ask yourself why. Why is ShowerClear the only one named? Why didn't they name anybody else?
Yeah, well, it's definitely an industry disrupting product that you have there for sure. I know once this starts going out, if anybody has a brain that manufactures shower heads, they're going to try and come up with something similar. So yeah, hats off to you again. And just also to kind of, I guess, expand on something that you said and to confirm, like, be really careful if you don't end up getting one of these and you try cleaning your own shower head, because things like, as you mentioned, bleach, I mean, this the last thing you want to do is trying to fix something and create another problem. You don't want to have vapor of bleach that's left over in there vaporizing in your face. And then the other thing too that happens, you mentioned bacteria. If you have mold growing in there, bleach is, for the people that are in the industry, they know you don't kill mold with bleach. What you do is you upset it, because if you look on the bottle of bleach, it's still like 93% water, and water is what mold needs to grow, among a couple other things, a food source, but in the right environment. But yeah, this is a no-brainer for me. I mean,
yeah. So right now, how can people buy your product? How they can find your shower head?
Well, we are we're on Amazon. We have an Amazon seller. We have our own website under shopshowerclear.com. And Gwyneth Paltrow's website, Goop, is one of our biggest retailers. She sells lots of these shower heads. And, you know, the funny thing is, if you Google famous people that got affected by mold, you will see 12 Hollywood stars. Gwyneth Paltrow is on the list. Lou Ferrigno was on the list. These are people that got devastated by the effects of mold. Because if mold is in your home and mold is in your walls, the one place the mold remediation companies don't look is your shower head. If you have a flood, they'll go into your house and they'll fix what got flooded, and they'll make sure that you don't have any mold there. But if they don't check your shower head, because why would they? They're taking it for granted also, that it must be fine. Well, if you don't fix everything, then what did you do? If your mold disease came from toxic mold being in your home and in the air, and it's also now formed in your shower head, you didn't fix the problem.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Same with the air conditioner.
Confirm with you 100%. Absolutely. Yeah. Mold, once it's airborne, it is everywhere. And that's a very great point for those of us in the mold remediation business. Yeah, that's the last place I would ever think of looking until now. I mean, even though it was in the back of my head, yeah, my goodness.
Yeah, so that's great information. I think one of the goals that we have with this show is to create conversations. It's to not just scare people, but to create conversations, disrupt the industries, and tell the manufacturers we are seeking for better solutions. We need better solutions. You know, like for me, bleach is one of the things that affects my health tremendously, and it's not in my head because it has been, you know, times where there is bleach around me. I didn't know, I couldn't smell it, and I thought I was going to pass out. So bleach is something very, very harmful for some people like me. So I think, you know, what you just said, it's just like a wealth of information on things that where problems hide in our homes and how to look for solutions. So thank you so much for sharing all that information.
I have a quick question, sir, if I didn't interrupt you. The cleaning aspect of it, obviously leaving it open probably solves 99% of the problems, but do you have any recommendations on alternative products? Maybe it's just soap and water. Like what's the best way to clean it? So one, you don't destroy the seal that's there, and then two, maybe any marring of the finish just to make sure that you're taking care of it properly?
Yeah, I would use something that you would consider to be something that will take mold away. And whether that's a solution, a mixed solution of bleach or a mixed solution of vinegar or something. But you're talking also about mycobacteria, which you can't see because it's less than 1 micron. So will it grow while the shower head is open? Chances are not.
Yeah.
I don't think so, because it's not giving it a platform. See, one of the older things that we didn't talk about is that what do most people complain about? Why a shower head gets crusty like this is because of lime and the buildup of calcium. So what happens is when you have calcium buildup inside and on the face of a shower head, you're giving the mycobacteria a perfect platform to grow. You're giving it an entryway to say, I can stop here and I can grow here. I don't have to get shot out of the nozzles anymore. I have a place to stop and grow. Mm-hmm. So it's easy enough because there's nothing inside the shower clear shower head. You can just spray something that you deem is going to clean it. And I think that's fine, to be honest with you, because it's the only shower head that you can clean anything in the inside with.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And that's the biggest thing for people that are talking about mold, since it's becoming such a hot topic, is that people need to realize that mold is everywhere. Once you open the doors and windows, it's part of nature. But yeah, you just don't want to, as you said, create this perfect environment that you can't see, that you can't properly clean. And that's when you have the issues. For people that don't have some type of conditioning for their water, most people are used to water softening, and you do get like a little bit of the calcium buildup on there. In that case, could we, because this works really well, and this type of thing is to reduce the amount of calcium buildup, could you just take it off and dunk it overnight in vinegar, and then the shower head would still be okay?
I would say, but it won't be necessary because you're not going to get any of that calcium buildup in shower clean.
Yeah.
It's really not going to happen because anytime you open it up, it's dripping dry.
Perfect.
You know, some of the most amazing things is that, you know, look, when we shower, the shower's pointing and it's leaned at an angle. So the very bottom of every shower head is where everything accumulates. Mm-hmm. You'll notice that you can let this shower head or any shower head sit. But with shower clear, if you open it, you're going to see a splash of water come out. To confirm that water sits inside every shower head, they don't empty out. Yeah. See, it's unlike a faucet that sits like this. The reason you don't have to worry as much about a faucet is because it's open at the bottom. Mm-hmm. So there's one other topic I'd like to talk about because I'm constantly asked about, gee, I love my handheld shower. I really want to have a handheld. Can you make one? And unfortunately, the answer is no. The reason is because the line that attaches to that shower head, when you hang it back up on the wall, the water sits in the line. If it sits in the line overnight, well, now you have another problem because you see, what is that line made out of? Plastic. What do we know about plastic? It's porous. So porous, dark, and wet is the perfect combination to grow anything that's going to grow. The multitude of bacteria that can grow will form. And the way that to prove that theory, I have cut open a number of handhelds, and they're filthy inside. The other way to tell is that if you look underneath your sink to where your dishwasher connects to the drain, you will see an accordion plastic line. And that accordion plastic line carries the water from your dishwasher to the outside when it rinses. But because that line stays wet, if you look at it, chances are, if you haven't changed it in a couple of years, it's black with mold. Same theory with the handheld shower. That takes it to the 9th degree so you can see it to prove it.
Yeah, thanks for mentioning that, because I think that's a very important thing to talk about. We have those in our house, and it's a convenient aspect, right? But I think you really have to weigh your options. You know, you don't have to go extreme with some of these things. Really, it's like, okay, how healthy do you want to be? And your product is so convenient, so easy to adapt into your daily habits that it's just one of those things that, you know what, it's important to me. It's important to my kids. Just get rid of the hose, and I'm not going to be enjoying, you know, moving the whole thing around. But you know what? I mean, you got to weigh out the pros and cons of everything.
Exactly. And, you know, the other point that I need to make is that, as I mentioned in the beginning about companies in the business that have not done anything to change their design, there was an article written in 2009 and 2010 when the market started to get aware that there can be mold and bacteria inside showerheads. There were a lot of articles and a lot of studies done around that time. The industry came back with a response in a particular magazine, and the industry said, it's not such a big problem, don't worry about it. Well, why? Because they didn't have an answer.
Yeah.
And, you know, I just want to go back to this for 1 second, is that to get this design to open, close, and seal, that process took 3.5 years to get perfect.
I'm sure.
Any other manufacturer that might have attempted this in the past said, it's never going to work, forget it. Let's just glaze over it.
Yeah.
So, and that brings me to another point, which is the mission. And, you know, when we work with companies now, I'm not just looking at a product, I'm looking at the mission of that company. So what you're talking about is probably companies that are looking at the money part of it. How can we make more money, put another product in the market and, you know, blow everything out of the water? They're not looking at the mission like you are. You had a mission. Nobody's going to, you know, people don't have to suffer like my mom or go through what my mom went through. So you have a mission that filled you with like hope that you could create a product that will solve that problem, So, and this is what we have been talking in some of the interviews about the trust. When the company, when you know the mission of that company and you know who is behind that mission, then it's easier to trust and to understand why it took you so long and why other people are not doing.
Yes, very good point. I'm really glad that you brought it up. Did we switch over? Can you hear me now?
There
Okay.
you go. Okay.
So I'm glad you brought up that point, because if I went into this for money, I would have gotten out a long time ago. Because this took years of development and years of my own money that I put into this. Because you see, I didn't go into this for money. Most people go into business because they want to make money. I went into this for love first. My mother was sick. There was a problem. I found something that was broken that needed fixing. And fixing is what I do as a car guy, as a guy that makes things go around a track and makes things safe to the degree I can get them to. Again, I said it before, but I fix things that most people don't know are broken. And this was really out of love first, money was second. And look, if somebody comes along and wants to buy out the company, great, wonderful. That's not why I went into this. I went into this to fix a problem that nobody was fixing first, and I couldn't understand why. To me, it was a simple answer. Why didn't somebody else do this? Why did it take me, one guy? Am I that smart? I don't think so. I just see things. And I see the accident before the accident. And once the accident happened, it makes it easier for me to see. So this was simple for me to see. This accident already happened. I cut open my mother's shower head. It was filled with garbage because old people don't fix things that aren't broken. If the water comes out, it must be okay. Why change it?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Gosh, it's so near and dear to our hearts because we've been on that same mission and other aspects of the home. So I can really appreciate where you're coming from, and thank you. We applaud you, seriously. I mean, yeah. Gosh.
And talking about money, so for all of you guys out there that are interested in getting one of those showers, Steve is giving an amazing discount. So his gift to the audience, it's a 20% off if you want to get a shower head. We will put all the information down below this video. You're going to have a link to his website, and you're also going to have the link to the gift where you can claim it. And Steve, do you have any other words, anything else you would like to share with the audience?
Well, I would like to thank you again for taking the time to let me appear here and spread the message of what I've accomplished. Because, you know, I lost my mother a year ago, and it was very dear to me. And Shower Clear is really for her. It really is. And I got to say that this has been quite a time. Quite a time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. We're sorry for your loss, and thank you. You know, it's funny. We have this term coined now from one of the doctors on our show. It says "from pain to purpose." You know, it's so interesting how things can come about from a tragedy such as that, and you turned it into something positive, and through that, you're going to be able to help so many people. So thank you.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to another interview, and I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to click on the link below and claim your 20% off, and also visit Steve's website. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.